Chapter 35. The lawns of Sapphire Towers looked different without the presence of the lovely ladies group. Preparations were on for the New Year's party, and if the women were around, they would have complained about the same old lights being used, or the waste of money for the extra face painting artists the committee had brought for the children for that night. They would have made comments on the songs that others were performing to, and even practiced a few numbers for the cultural program for the evening as they laughed and fumbled along with the steps. Alas, while the poles were being erected, the women looked down from their own houses and refused to join the celebrations. It didn't feel right at all. Natasha was most upset that she had lost her friend Sarita in the aftermath of the email's revelations. She honestly wished Sarita would realize that sex was just a small part of all of us. If you didn't get the larger picture of a person, the sex would never matter. But Sarita had blamed Natasha, and she knew Jay would never let Sarita become her friend again. How she wished she could tell her it was because of Sarita that she took the necessary steps to change her life. Natasha wished she could help Sarita with her problems as well. Geeta waited patiently for Sahil to return. She was too afraid to go out of the house, except to cook and send pre-ordered parcels to her customers. The orders were pouring in, and her business was taking off. She never anticipated it, and soon was overwhelmed with the work. Both her children were so excited for her that they wanted to help. And Geeta made sure that as soon as they came back from school, they would sit in Sahil's house and help out. The excitement didn't permeate to Shailesh or her in-laws, who all thought she was wasting her time and bringing a bad name to the family. A bahu in their khandan never worked. It would give a bad reputation to the men who were supposed to look after the women. But for Geeta, it was never just about the money. It was about her independence. If Shailesh didn't understand that, then there was nothing she could do. She had tried to explain to him why she was doing her catering business. He had refused to accept it. This was not the agreement we had when we got married. You had promised to look after my family. She had begged. I am still looking after your family, but I need to do something with my own life. He had thundered. Why? You're just making a fool of yourself and me. Geeta did not reply anymore after that. She even did not make any excuses when he wanted sex, thinking it would appease him, even though it killed her to lie still while this vile act was happening. She had surrendered her body to Sahil, and now Shailesh was using it because he had a right to, as a married couple. How she hated that thought. But even after that, he didn't change his mind and continued to belittle her work. She kept quiet, choosing to run away to Sahil's place to work. Her in-laws were also waiting for Sahil to return from his shoot to scold him. How could he go against family tradition and let his sister-in-law take up a profession? How could he allow his brother's wife to enter his kitchen to work while he wasn't there? They were upset and wanted to stop this nonsense altogether. Chatting with her own set of friends, Mrs. Patel made sure to insult Geeta. Bahu has decided to work, she said to her friends. She dramatically added, and no one seems to have time for us anymore. My daughter-in-law is out cooking for other people like a common maid, and our son is out at work. She used to be so nice, used to sit and talk to us. Now she's not bothered to look after us anymore. The other women, as old as she was and themselves mothers-in-law, would agree. So Mrs. Patel would ramble on. She's not even bringing money back into the house. If she can't spend time with us, at least she should buy us gifts. All my son has done is look after that woman and her children for so long, working so hard. This was one reason why Geeta couldn't go out to lounge in the lawns, even if she wanted to. There would be too many people looking at her as if she was a monster of a daughter-in-law. Geeta checked her mobile phone for new posts on the lovely ladies group. Nothing. But no one had exited the group either. The group was still there, and it appeared they still wanted to stay there. Maybe the good memories were holding them back from leaving. Geeta missed her friends. She could sure use their help, but she was badly hurt by the way they had spoken to her. They did not bother to comprehend her situation, and they refused to sympathize. She had expected a little more graciousness from them. Aarti's life quickly swirled into her worst nightmare. Amitabh, her loving husband, had now become an unsupportive roommate. He had released her from his mind as his wife, and he didn't want to help her. He said it was her choice to leave, so she should be the one to speak to their parents. Not only did she have to explain to her own set of parents, who were extremely upset with her, she also had to bring up the topic of impotency to his parents, who didn't understand the subject at all. "But he gave you a son. What is the problem?" they had asked. But that was nothing compared to the agony of sitting with Aryan to explain to him why she needed to move out. Aryan was obviously angry and for several days completely withdrew. Aarti knew that she would have to spend more time with her son to at least help him with the transition when she and Amitabh finally separated. Dhruv, meanwhile, kept calling her, but she ignored him. She wished she could speak to her friends, have them help her feel better just by talking about the most inane things. But she had been caught in an extramarital affair, and she just couldn't face them at the moment. It was not something she had ever done or would ever do again. But her friends had judged her for it, and she felt betrayed. She had given everything to her friends. So much time and effort had been spent on nurturing these 3 relationships, and now they had fallen apart. Now Aarti needed to rebuild her life, and she had no support from anyone. After Sarita told Rahul to leave, he packed his things and went to stay with a friend. Sarita almost cried again as she watched her firstborn leave. This was not how she wanted things to be. She had hoped that he would grow up in the same house, go to college, get married, and bring his wife home to her. She had even started thinking of how she could renovate the house to make more space for her future grandchildren. Obviously, Riya would have got married and left for her sasural, and her in-laws would be dead, thank God. But that was all just a dream. Today Riya embraced her bhaiya and sobbed when he was leaving. Rahul turned to Sarita. "I'm sorry, Ma." Sarita looked at him, unable to understand where she had gone wrong. "You've not only ruined this family, Rahul, but you've spoiled my relationship with a dear friend." As the door shut behind them and Sarita sat down in her room alone, her daughter came inside and stood at the entrance without saying a word. Sarita wiped away her tears. She opened her arms and let her daughter fall into them as she sobbed uncontrollably. She held Riya closely and wondered if there was still one more chance at bringing up a good kid. Riya whispered, "Mama, I have something to tell you." "What?" Sarita wiped away a tear. "I know who did this. I know who sent that email.